focus rather on the impeachment of the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. And any moment from now, we are set to know who is the replacement of Rigathi Gachagua. Is it Kithure Kindiki, as many are trying to speculate? Is it the Murang'a governor or the Kirinyaga governor, among others, whose names actually are surfacing? In studio, I still have my guest, that is Jackson Ngoima, a political analyst, and as well Odhiambo Otieno, a political analyst. The National Assembly is convening currently for the special sitting, even as they await the communication from President William Ruto so that they will deliberate on the name of Gachagua's replacement. Stay tuned for all those updates right here on K24. Even as we still progress with this conversation, now a section of Azimio leaders in the Senate, Azimio appears to already have been split into two. There is the ODM side and the Wiper side. And so this is what the Secretary General of the Wiper Party, Shakil Abdallah, said as far as the impeachment of Rigathi Gachagua is concerned. First of all, do you believe the broad-based government has contributed to the fall of Gachagua?
Definitely, 101%. They have contributed to the fall of Gachagua. And in my view, this impeachment was not necessary. Yeah, it was not necessary because it pains me to see that whatever Gachagua is going through, it is the same what Ruto went through as a deputy president, and now he's putting Gachagua in the same situation. Yeah, but this country, the presidency it is possible for the presidency to be united. It is possible for the presidency to be united. In my view, I'm saying in a war, you don't kill a wounded soldier. Gachagua, or the deputy president, is a fellow soldier who is currently wounded. Even if he may have many reasons to staple on him, to destroy him, but I believe, as a Muslim lady, revenge belongs to God.
President William Ruto was silent as this whole matter was ongoing. Perhaps, do you believe he was aware?
Of course, as a member of the parliament, as a president of this country, he is aware. He is very much aware. He's just decided to keep quiet, but I hope the judiciary will give Gachagua justice.
Well, interestingly, well, that is Morara Moke, who is an advocate, who just arrived, of course, psyched up for this conversation. He also had, petitioned the Eldoret High Court seeking to restrain the Chief Justice or any other person under her instructions from swearing in the Deputy President nominee. He will be updating us as far as that case is concerned. At the same time, Rigathi Gachagua holding office until all the cases are heard and determined. So it is a matter of wait and see. Also, whether the courts could come to the rescue of Rigathi Gachagua, who was impeached on 5 grounds out of 11 that Mwengi Mutuse actually had presented to the National Assembly. 282 members of parliament voted in support of the motion. 44 members did not support that. At the Senate level, we knew or we saw what transpired. 5 grounds out of 11. So Rigathi Gachagua impeached as the deputy president. Just to begin with you, Wakili, thank you so much for getting time this morning. Rigathi Gachagua is no longer the deputy president. The Senate made that resolution. It upheld the impeachment motion. What do you make of a sick man, a 59-year-old in hospital, whereas he's being impeached?
First of all, apologies for being late because you were trying to attend to some of the cases that are actually pending before the court. So we'll begin with the whole process. I think it was extremely unfortunate. It shows the kind of how inhumane our society has become, and especially the parliament, which is basically a representation of the rot in the society. There was no urgency at all to complete the process yesterday. There was more time up to Saturday. There's no reason at all why they could not wait, other than the fact that they were already made up their mind. They did not care whether he was dead or alive. They had to impeach him. And when it comes to matters of health, I don't think that we should be so cavalier on how we talk about the health of an individual. I was following the proceedings earlier on, and one of my colleagues did speak about he thinks that he was feigning. I don't think we should do that. Let's give him a benefit of the doubt. The health of an individual, it's only between them and their doctors and God. I think we should be at least sure that even if you enjoy the circus, at least spare someone that benefit of the doubt. So in terms of, you said it's, you've called him the former deputy president. I would tell you it's too early to say that. The courts have something to say before this process comes to an end. So we are now moving proper to the judicial process, and the courts have to look at the process from beginning to end. And as we spoke previously, there's a lot of failures on the part of the National Assembly. When Mutuse started the process, of course, he was merely an emissary. Those who sent him never even bothered to conduct public participation. And that step was missed. It's incurable. Then we come to the actual hearing of let's start from the National Assembly. When they were having this motion, we had members of parliament had many reasons why they wanted to impeach the deputy president, including those that were not in the motion. I would give you an example. I had them say that, for instance, the Suba North member of parliament said that when they were in Nyanza, he did come and tell the president he needed him out of Nyanza because they had somewhere else to go. So everyone had their own small reason to impeach the deputy president. But when you do this, it's actually a legal process. It's provided in the Constitution. The grounds are very clear: gross violation of the Constitution, and that was not really what was considered. In the Senate, we've seen the unfairness. When you look at the Speaker overruling so many things that were valid. For instance, the fact that they were introducing evidence midstream, which was not before the National Assembly. There was an issue of Orengo appearing as a counsel for the National Assembly. It's totally unnecessary, and I don't think what value he was going to bring that was not already in the legal team. He is a governor. He should focus on Siaya County. Maybe it could be also a subject of impeachment in the days to come. You never know. So I think that it was very unfortunate. And you look at the reasons again that were outside of the motion, talking about the succession of his late brother, talking about, I had someone talk about, there were quite many reasons that were not in the motion. So as I say, the courts will be able to look at all that, and they can make a decision on whether this was a fair process. Of course, it's not fair because he was not given a chance to appear and defend himself. All they needed to do was to wait for a few hours. Saturday is just tomorrow, so there was no rush.
Jackson, you know, you've heard what the Wiper members have said, that the broad-based government has contributed to Gachagua being removed. You know, Gachagua has been ensnared in his own traps. You remember, he had set the traps for Raila Odinga, and he had to remove them. Is he ensnared in his own traps? And if at all Raila Odinga was not part of the broad-based government, then it will be an uphill task to oust Gachagua.
First and foremost, I find it interesting when we call it a broad-based government. This government would have been a broad-based government if it was a coalition between Azimio and UDA. But in actual sense, what we have is Kenya Kwanza government and ODM. If it was broad-based, perhaps Jubilee would have been brought in. Perhaps they would have brought in a Wiper. But of course, they have to give it a baptismal name for it to sound so credible. But outside there, the politicians and the people are calling it bread-based government. Because actually it doesn't represent any aspirations that the people of Kenya are concerned about. But the truth of the matter is that in this particular impeachment motion, it was lightly put by the motion mover and very many people that impeachment is a political process. But political choices also have political consequences. William Ruto realized by engaging Uhuru Kenyatta so negatively, he had lost a section of Mount Kenya. And now, the other section that had gone with him, by engaging Rigathi Gachagua so negatively, he had lost now the entire Mount Kenya region. But he would not allow this Mount Kenya region to drift to Raila Odinga, because then that would set him into a one-party president. So what does he do? he drags Raila into his schemes. And now Raila becomes an enemy of the Mount Kenya region as much as William Ruto is an enemy of Mount Kenya region. And this is the politics of Mount Kenya. Mount Kenya, the region...
So also Raila Odinga loses favor.
Completely, because the enthusiasm within which members of ODM engaged in this motion was actually more, they were more enthusiastic than even those in Kenya Kwanza. We saw the lawyers who appeared, including James Orengo, who actually told us that he's appearing pro bono. What is this motivation that would cause you to leave the people of Siaya as a governor?
At some point, he had issues also
and
with
no
his
county
deputy.
Governments have serious problems. They have not even been
He also
allocated.
had issues with his
And
deputy.
he had issues with the impeachment of his own deputy. And then we have a situation whereby the county governments are currently strained. Staff have not been paid. Money has not been allocated to county government. So there are serious problems. So the question that begs is, what is this motivation? Certainly, it is the issue of the broad-based government. But even as we were doing this particular impeachment motion is a diversionary tactic. And the majority of Kenyans know this. We have so many issues affecting this government. So many so that we are now operating a country without a finance bill. The 2023-2024 finance bill was thrown out by the courts. The 2024-2025 finance bill was again thrown out of the court. Then we have now the Chief and the Shah that are full of controversy. We have the Adani Ketraco deal with controversy. We have the Adani airport takeover controversy. And yesterday it was in court. But luckily, the people of this country have woken up to political realities. They are more awake. And what happened is that they stormed the social space of the courts and they started shouting. And the judge had to adjourn. So people will hear it without having to choose between that one and the impeachment. They have chosen which one to hear when, and now here we are. The impeachment being a political process. My friend here said that the Senate, the Speaker of the Senate, exercised Solomonic wisdom as much as Marende did. Sometimes Solomonic wisdom may misfire, may backfire. You know, when Solomon said that this child be split into two, if we didn't have a wise mother, and the child would have been split. So
that's a death of a child.
Sometimes it may not be wisdom. Remember, and this is a very good case that Gachagua was tried in his absence, like our colleague has said, and he was actually tried at night in his absence. In the trial of Jesus, because I can see nearly every member of Parliament, Senate was quoting the Bible, and so I believe they are very good Christians. When Jesus was taken before Pontius Pilate knew that he had been trapped. So what he did, he attempted to take back the case to Herod, because he cited that this man is a Galilean, so you try him. And Herod said, no. This man was born in Judea. That is your jurisdiction. So I see a situation where if Kingi had an option, he would have removed the trial from his hands and put it in someone else's hands. But this time he realized he was trapped, like Pontius Pilate was. And Pontius Pilate, in one of his conversations with his servant, he said, when Jesus looked at him, he saw pity in his eyes. And it was not Jesus that was pitying, it is Jesus pitying him. And he said that the weight of his eyes, of Christ's eyes, felt so heavy on his hands. I believe that Speaker Kingi was in a similar situation, and especially being a lawyer. He saw the defense that was put by Gachagua's lawyers. He saw the kind of cross-examination that was done. He even saw the guy who brought from ethics and anti-corruption. He was not coming to reinforce anything that had already been canvassed in the National Assembly. He came to give some other things, like gifts, that were never in the original motion. And therefore, the irrelevancies. And like the lawyers for Gachagua said that he was tried for an offense in Parliament that was never in the motion. And the Senate fell to the same trap. So like the lawyer says, it will be interesting to see what now happens in
the courts will say. Well, Odhiambo.
Yes.
Broad-based government. Yes. The numbers. You know, it's interesting that James Orengo, who leaves Siaya all the way to Nairobi on pro bono to support what many will consider his enemy, that is the National Assembly, who they are adamant that your allocation under the Division of Revenue is actually 380 billion, not 400 billion. So you come and defend your oppressor to win a certain matter. And the fact that, you know, the minority side backed this motion, the numbers, for instance, for the first ground, were more than, actually were 53 against 13. Raila Odinga, is he playing part? Or is Raila Odinga actually the one removing Gachagua? There's also that conversation. That could be Raila Odinga.
Well, that puts me in a tough position because I've worked in the house of Raila Odinga for over 5 years as the press secretary to Mama Ida Odinga. I would say this because having worked with Raila very closely, I have observed that decision that Raila made this year, to his defense, was very, very much needed for one reason. And let's contextualize where we are at today. It could be said that Raila is impeaching Gachagua, which of course is false. This government literally lost its legitimacy, and I'm sure Wakili will agree with me, on the 25th of June. When it found me in Mombasa, and a friend of mine called me and told me they have breached parliament. And I was like, what? If these guys have breached parliament, parliament to State House is very close. And that is the day that I think Raila Odinga took the position to provide leadership to this country. Leadership.
Not to sanitize.
Not politics, not to sanitize. For one reason.
Like for the Adani one.
Of course, because today, if we had the Kenya Kwanza government out, as it was in the streets then on 25th, we will not be seated here perhaps, or we'll be seated here with military down there guarding this very building. And so there was need for some realignments. And I can tell you, Raila Odinga didn't have any intention of firing or helping Gachagua go away. But now, he's in a catch-22 position. And this is where I want you to understand Raila Odinga's predicament. That on one side, he has proven to provide leadership for the nation. Okay? Be it good or bad, we always say a bad government is better than none. And Raila Odinga is also looking for something. That is the AU seat. The government is a very jealous institution.
Could be a condition that he was given.
Not a condition.
That you have to back.
Not a condition.
Gachagua's ouster or else.
Not a condition. Not a condition, because as the numbers are, you can view it, and nobody is assured that Raila is going to win the AU seat. But the government needs to stabilize. And the truth of the matter is, from a communication perspective, again, Wakili, whether Gachagua was in office by reinstatement or by the efforts that you are doing in court, the question is, where is the legitimacy of this government? Because the relationship between Gachagua and the president has irretrievably broken down. We also have the other issue of Gachagua not being able, demonstrably, to work with any other person. If it is not that the underdog is always favored in the political space, Gachagua, as he is or as he was, already spoke too much vitriol into the public space that there were conversations of what kind of a deputy president is this that we are having. And so, excuse the ODM people from this one. This government was bad from formation. And as we always say, my friend, things don't go wrong. Things start wrong. This government started wrong. It started by Gachagua hating on a person who is served for 12 years as a personal assistant. A cardinal rule in the political space, he knows that if the master of the mafia is sick or is down in the mud or is imprisoned, you don't go against him.
So he made a mistake of going behind.
He made a mistake, and you know, if let me use the example.
And so it brings us to the point of Jackson that he was used. In this case.
He wasn't used, in my view. He used himself. He used himself to this level. Most people who work around leaders often find an infection of wanting to be like the leader. Okay? Gachagua, having served Uhuru Kenyatta for over 12 years, must have wanted to be like Uhuru Kenyatta. And that jealousy took him too far, or the envy. I don't know which emotion it is directly, but either envy or jealousy took him too far, to the extent that he unseated Uhuru Kenyatta as the political stabilizer of Mount Kenya region. And today, Gachagua is out not because of Raila or because of ODM. He's out because Ruto, the president, needs the country to stabilize. And for the country to stabilize, Gachagua must be out and let him be where he is.
Wakili, you know, the intrigues here by Odhiambo and as well, you know, Jackson. Now that Gachagua is out, does it satisfy the likes of Raila Odinga or the broad-based government? You know, at some point there was an argument that he's not in our caliber. And even for you lawyers, there's that tendency where you have new entrants and the senior counsels, you know, dining on one table and the other hand. Could it be this is the whole reason the broad-based government was formed? And also then the talks about or around, you know, Rigathi Gachagua keen, perhaps even to plan a coup with some of his members already, the DCI, in its recommendation to the DPP, they got an approval, a thumbs up that indeed you can proceed. I've just hosted actually one of them here, that is James Gakuya, who is on the DCI radar. Could that be playing out that first, then during the Gen Z demos, you know, allegations that Gachagua was funding the demos, he had to stabilize the country by bringing Raila Odinga on board so that at least you don't have all your enemies out there. Then after that, you purge out Rigathi Gachagua.
It's all politics, but I think that the first casualty, actually, the real casualty of all this will be the president himself. Because once you lose the Mount Kenya block, you'll know what Raila went through when he lost the Rift Valley vote in 2007. And it started with a very small, you know, it was about the Mau Forest. And of course, Ruto was among the people who were leading the charge, saying that the people were being mistreated. He was out there crying. I don't know if he was crying because he really cared for those people, but then there came the ICC, again the position he took on the ICC. He paid a price ultimately. I think that had he taken a different approach, maybe he would have been president as early as 2013. So he lost out on the Rift Valley vote, and I think that's what is happening. I think that certainly, in my opinion, the president is going to be a one-term president. He has lost the Mount Kenya. He cannot replace that voting bloc. Because the Mount Kenya, you know, they're the ones, they always think that when it comes to the election, they'll wake up very early to choose.
Maybe Morara is aware of all that, and perhaps it's the reason this has come as early as now, before it's too late. Because 3 years, maybe it's enough to, you know, draw.
I don't think that, first of all,
political
you know,
lines yet again.
In my opinion, first of all, you know, it also depends on many other factors. For instance, we do not know, as my colleague said, whether Raila Odinga will win the AU seat. Mm-hmm. If he loses on that one, probably Raila is going to be back to also try and run for president.
And pick Gachagua.
I don't think so. Maybe I think Gachagua will probably oscillate towards Kalonzo Musyoka as it appears, because you can see that from this impeachment process, the person who has supported him the most has been, outside of the Mount Kenya senators and members of parliament who are in support, it was actually Wiper members of parliament. In fact,
Kalonzo Musyoka will be visiting Rigathi Gachagua at the current hospital at 9:45 a.m.
Yeah, in my opinion, I think the president has made a major mistake. At least they could have said, okay, let's pretend and wait until Saturday. Why would they have to really push him when he's unwell? I think he will pay a heavy price for that one.
Allow me to take a commercial break. When we come back, we'll be getting reactions of senators allied to Rigathi Gachagua, and also those who still voted in support of the motion to oust Rigiji as the second in command. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.